All right. Hello, everybody. It's been some time. It's been like 2 months since I've had a stream. Not great. Anyway, how am I sounding? Thanks for joining me. Like I said, it's been a little bit of time, hasn't it? But that's because there hasn't been a lot to really talk about. Grey Knights and Deathwatch have been doing notoriously bad in the meta. There have been almost no tournament wins. There's been no real meta shakeups, at least as far as my two factions go. So that combined with some real life stuff that's been happening, I haven't had anything to talk about. But that's changed because this morning, as I'm sure you were all aware, there was the faction focus released for the Grey Knights, and boy howdy, are there some nuggets of gold in there, and I'm super excited. So we're going to jump right in. I want to remind everybody that I do these live so that you can interact with me. So ask questions, make your comments, make fun of my beard, whatever. Go for it. So, Faction Focus came out. I was super on edge. I didn't lose sleep or anything, but I was worried that like we would end up as like almost an extremely anti-demons faction back when like 8th edition was. But it turns out that that's not the case at all. We got some really cool stuff, so let's take a look. So the first thing is we got a army-wide rule called Teleport Assault. You'll remember that as our old secondary objective from 9th edition. This is super neat. Already, like the first thing I read and I was already absolutely fucking jazzed. As long as your entire army is Grey Knights, and you're not within engagement range of an enemy unit, then at the end of your opponent's turn, you can select up to a number of units equivalent to the size game you're playing. For most of us, this is going to be 3 units. You immediately remove them from the battlefield, and you effectively get to deep strike them immediately the next turn. So at the end of your opponent's turn, you get to pull units off of the board and drop them anywhere you want within the deep strike rules in your next movement phase. Not the turn after that, the very next one. This is incredible. This is a huge amount of maneuverability. I already say here, like, depending on what the secondaries look like, if we still have secondaries like behind enemy lines or engaged on all fronts, this is going to make us really, really, really good at that. We'll be able to 3 units is just is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. What's interesting here is it says as long as they're Grey Knights, so if they have the Grey Knights keyword. So I'm not sure if this even works on servitors or whatever. But yeah, this is really, really fun. This is super thematic, with the Grey Knights just jumping in all over the place, coming at you from angles that you're not expecting. This feels really, really good. And who doesn't love movement shenanigans? As we've seen commonly, if you're into competitive game, yeah, Land Raiders, that's an excellent point. I hadn't thought about that. Crisis and Sindri are right there. It just says Grey Knights units. So holy moly, this is gonna add, like, this is incredible. Like this, it's funny that an ability with no quote unquote combat ability like has me so excited, but man, this has me really excited. Yeah, because the ability to control the movement is paramount in winning games. For those of you who have been in the competitive field for a long time, you're aware of the idea of, like, you know, the toilet or the swirl, where usually what happens is on one side of the board you're pushing upwards, and then on the other side of the board your opponent is like pushing towards you, which kind of looks like a toilet or a swirl. And you'll be able to reposition units, up to 3 of them every single turn, exactly where you need them. Like, this is so cool. And moving on, so this was missed by some of the people that rushed to get out a faction focus review, but at the bottom of the article, it says this here. Many units are gaining an improvement of their save characteristic, often to 2+. So we are at the elite of the elite of the normal Space Marines. This is the equivalent of us getting mastercrafted power armor throughout the entire army. We see it later on the Purgators, so I assume Interceptors are going to get this. Strike Squads are going to get this. Our Terminators already have this, obviously. This is super thematic, and with the general decrease of AP in the game overall, any more bonus to our save we can possibly get is a direct increase in survivability, and this also has me really excited. So Deep Strike. Those of you who have been playing for a very long time, you know that Deep Strike is really a community term. This wasn't really a thing that they ever used, but apparently Deep Strike is now a real thing. This is a real ability and a real term now. The only reason I'm even bringing this up here is because having the Deep Strike ability is important to note for future stratagems and other abilities that I'm going to talk about later. But this basically just gives us the teleport assault ability, or the teleport strike ability from 9th, and it just reminds everybody that, you know, if you are a Grey Knight and you have the Deep Strike ability, you can put a whole bunch of our army into Deep Strike for free. So they do note in the article that it will affect all infantry, except with servitors, obviously, and all Dreadknights. So you can go ahead and assume by what is not stated there, you know, things like our Rhinos and our Land Raiders won't have this. That's okay, if that makes sense, but it is very cool and also very thematic. So teleport Shunt. Already we need to be aware of what units have the Deep Strike ability. This used to be a stratagem for 2 CP, only usable on a Dreadknight with a teleporter or on the Interceptor squads, and it would allow them to Deep Strike. Instead, you just get this detachment rule that anytime a Grey Knight unit with the Deep Strike ability advances, don't make an advance roll. Instead, you will automatically add 6 to the advance, and during that movement, you can fly. This is also incredibly cool. I'm sure that people, I mean, and it's free. Like, there's no CP for this. You're not spending points for this. You just get this. So, while it is a little, like, niche, and when you'll want it, when you use it, it's going to be very good. This is a thing where, like, if you've been playing a game and you have a Dreadknight stuck behind a ruin and you can't move it far enough to be able to shoot, at least this will let you move it across terrain to get into position for the next turn. And you can combine that with just like some of the other stratagems that we're going to see. And this is also, like, this is just really cool. Being able to move your Terminators up, advance them those 6 inches guaranteed, and then be able to fly across terrain like a barricade or whatever without or a crater without slowing our movement. This is, again, very thematic as we're, like, jumping all over the place, even in small increments. Like, we're moving exactly where we need to be. The fly keyword is also interesting because, I mean, we know that it works very well for movement, but it's interesting because, you know, you can only charge flying units when you have fly, but then this is also only if you advance, and I don't know if we get advance and charge in, anywhere, because obviously this is a faction preview, and we don't know what else we might see. I did go through a whole bunch of our data sheets just to make sure. We have, like, no assault weapons in the whole book. All of our flamers even are heavy weapons. Even the incinerators on our Purgation Squads, which I thought was interesting, but so I don't know if we'll be able to do anything after we advance, or if we'll be like 9th, where if you advance, that's it. Especially with psychic abilities changing very much, you won't be able to advance and then cast, because the entire psychic phase is gone. Sindri brings up a very good point that I wonder what they'll be doing with interceptor squads, because this kind of like double move or fast movement was their jam. I don't know. I bring that up later. I'm also very curious to see what they do with my good old boys, the interceptors. Moving on though. Oh, the librarian Meltagun is assault. All right. Crisis got me. So we have so our librarian can go ahead and advance out in front of the army, and then shoot one Melta shot at 6 inches that will probably miss, or 12 inches. Anyway, the Purgation Squad was shown. As you can see here, it has a 2-up save. That's super awesome. We still have 2 wounds, still toughness 4. Most of the stuff is the same. The Silencer gained a strength, lost an AP. The Psycannon gained a strength, same AP, same damage. Incinerator gained ignore cover. We're seeing this on basically every flamer style weapon in the game, so this is not surprising at all. And then we'll see here how we have the psychic abilities of our units kind of baked into the datasheet now, which with the psychic phase going away, I just kind of assumed this is what we were going to see. We saw this a little bit with the Thousand Suns preview yesterday as well, but actual aim is back, baby. It says in your shooting phase, range weapons equipped by models in this unit have the indirect fire ability, provided the target of that weapon is visible to one or more other friendly Grey Knights psyker units. So this is them like being able to psychically communicate with each other and guide fire. So while you may discover, or while you'll be at -1 to hit, you know, you'll be able to go ahead and fire the side cannon shots safely from behind cover, which is fantastic. You also see here the Silencer gained the sustain hits 1 ability, so that means on any hit rolls of 6, so critical hits they call that, it adds 1 more hit. So the Silencer with 6 shots, you're going to see an average of 1 extra hit per dude that actually fires, up to 4 for the squad. So that's also very, very cool. You'll see here that under the melee weapons, this is our first introduction to what the Nemesis Force weapon profile is going to look like. I saw the Force weapon on one of the previous profiles, and I thought it was pretty lackluster. It was strength 6 -1, 1 damage, if I remember right. And I was wondering if the Nemesis Force weapons would get a little more buff than that. I think what was flying around all the Grey Knight discords and stuff is that they were hoping that we'd get the Devastating Wounds ability on top of that profile. Instead, we just got the straight up profile that you saw from the Halberds last edition in 9th. So strength 6, -2 AP, 2 damage. Not bad at all. You'll see a lot of the psychic tag on a lot of our weapons now. That doesn't seem to mean anything except into Thousand Suns, where they have the ability to do reactions based off that keyword. I looked up on the leaks for the 10th edition book, and I saw nothing about a psychic keyword. So whatever it is, whatever other stuff it can do, we don't quite have any information on how that works just yet. And yes, Jasper XOR is saying it like flat out. You won't have to magnetize or swap any weapons on a huge multitude of your Grey Knights. Just plop them on the board with whatever you want. So if you're like Stefan from One Last Blade, who loves his lightning claws on his Grey Knights, and he was proxying those as the falchions, you can do that because it's all the same profile now. Just go nuts. I already have tons of halberds on my guys, and I love the way that they look. They're very iconic, and not very many units in the game have them. So I'm gonna stick with my halberds for the most part. But yeah, you know, some folks have been upset about the fact that like we lost the hammer. We don't have these amazing options and stuff. I think this is really great for newer players who maybe bought a box, modeled them the way that they thought was cool, and then they discover that no, that's actually the worst weapon in the game, this version, and this just kind of deals with that. So while I am a little sad that we lost a little player choice, like I thought the hammer would stay its own profile, so it surprises me that it's not. But we also haven't seen the Strike Squad, the Paladin, or the Terminator data sheets yet, so maybe they get a hammer. Who knows? But the Purgation Squad does not. Overall, I'm cool with this change. I want to see how it plays out before I lose my mind too much. And Sindri is right. The psychic weapons could impact interactions with other abilities. So far, I think we've only seen the Thousand Suns have any abilities like that. At first, I thought it would be really cool that, like, if you did a psychic ranged attack, you could still fire your Storm Bolter. I haven't found any rules to that effect. I don't know if that's true or not. I think somebody said that in the Grey Knights Discord earlier. But again, I don't know if that's true or not. I would be surprised if it was, but anyway, it's neat. I'm really excited with this profile, with this datasheet. It really makes Purgation Squads good again with the Astral Aim change. Obviously, we need to see how much they're going to cost. So things get a little wonky here with the Grandmaster and Nemesis Dreadknight. This is 2 whole slides. I had so many questions and so many observations on here. First of all, toughness went up to 8. That's not surprising. We've seen vehicle toughness across the board go way up, so going from 6 to 8 makes sense. I did notice our movement speed is down by 1. It was 9 inches, now it's 8. With all our other movement shenanigans, I'm not really sure I care, but, you know, anytime you lose something, it feels kind of bad. But again, I want to see all the other rules. The Psy Cannon gained 2 strength, it's now strength 10. The Silencer, just like the ones equipped by our infantry, went up by 1 strength and gained the sustained hits ability, just like the one by our infantry. So that will average out to actually 2 additional hits on the Gatling Silencer because there are 12 shots. And then I also noticed, this is neat, DKs finally explode. They didn't explode before. They didn't in 8th, and they didn't in 9th. Now they explode. I'm okay with this. I like explosions, so I'm fine, whatever. Crisis says that even in 9th, they didn't feel like they were moving their Dreadknights all the way. I mean, sometimes I was, sometimes I wasn't. Usually I was kind of playing peekaboo, so totally dig that. I noticed as well, there's a new walker keyword. I'll be honest, I haven't been following every faction focus, so if the guard one had sentinels on there and it already had the walker keyword, then this won't be surprising to you, but for me, it was. I didn't expect it. I don't know what that does. It'll probably be a stratagem, most likely. But yeah, it gains the walker keyword. And the weirdest thing, though, is the weapon skill and ballistic skill of our Grandmaster in Nemesis Dreadknight went down to 3+. Later on, I'll talk about that Surge of Wrath ability, and I really think that's probably why. In fact, I think that's the first thing on the next slide, so we'll just get right there. Yeah, so Surge of Wrath is an ability that once per battle round, per unit with this ability. So, actually, allow me to say that again. Only 1 of your Dreadknights can use this per turn, but they can all use it, or at least your Grandmasters can. But once per unit per battle rounds, it'll make the Grandmaster Dreadknight a lot more reliable because you get to reroll everything. This is not just reroll hits, this is not just reroll wounds, and not just reroll damage, it's reroll all 3. So even though our weapon and ballistic skill went down, at least in melee, we're going to be really, really reliable because you'll be able to reroll absolutely everything. So unless there's some ability that we're going to see as the addition goes on that turns off all rerolls or something, that will be a very powerful ability. And the best part is, and I'm going to go back to the last slide real quick. The best part is, again, this is baked in. This is a psychic ability that's on the datasheet. So this does not cost a CP. This does not cost points as an upgrade. If you bring this unit and you put it on the tabletop, bam, you get this and you can pop it off when you need it. I'll also note that the Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknight has a objective control of 4. As you know, it had an objective control of 1 effectively in 9th, so it's nice to see that it you won't have like 2 random, I don't know, incubi just take away an objective from you. So Heroism's Favor is always 1 CP for the Grandmaster and Nemesis Dreadknight. Always. That's the other thing on the data sheet there. So there are abilities they've already previewed where enemy armies can pick a stratagem and make that cost 1 more CP. For the Grandmaster in Nemesis Dreadknight, they ignore that. They will be able to heroically intervene 6 inches for free, regardless of if they increase the price of that. Now, our melee weapons got worse, if you ask me, in general. So for the strike profile, they kept the D6 damage, which I was hoping they were going to get rid of. And I think we lost an AP, if I remember right. I didn't write that down, so that's my bad. And then the sweep went down in both AP and damage. So it used to be -2 AP, 2 damage. Now it's -1 AP, 1 damage, which feels pretty bad. Strike used to be -3 D6 damage, if I believe. It did go up in strength, but we know that it would because, you know, everything has gone up in toughness as well. And then you see the hammer. It also got nerfed a bit. You still take the -1 to hit, but you also lost the more reliable damage in... and instead we gained potentially more spike damage. So D3 plus 3 obviously topped out at 6. D6 plus 1 is obviously a maximum of 7 and a minimum of 2. So it did go up in strength. It's strength 10. I don't know. The hammer, we'll have to see how things play out. This feels pretty bad overall. And then the Dread Fists got back +1 attack, but they're worse than our normal Nemesis weapon profile on our normal infantry in every other way. So other than the fact that you get to roll 6 times, it's actually strength 6 -1 AP and 1 damage versus strength 6 -2 AP, 2 damage for any of their Nemesis weapon. So the Dread Fists also feel kind of bad. These guys will probably be great still as weapon platforms, like gun platforms, but I don't know. The melee stuff, especially with the Surge of Wrath being fight phase only, it seems like they really want us to get these into melee, but then they lowered our speed, and they made our close combat weapons worse, so I'm curious to see how this will play out. And then you'll notice the reroll aura is gone. There is no reroll 1s to hit now like there was on the Grandmaster Dreadknight. It looks like it's been replaced with Surge of Wrath and the Heroism's Favor being stuck at 1 CP. Drago might be the only model in our entire army that grants rerolls now, but again, we'll have to wait and see. So I'm kind of meh on the Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknight. We lost some movement, we gained some toughness, our shooting got a little better, our melee got a little worse, but also we got more reliable melees, so I don't know. We don't also know what the other strats look like, or anything like that that might buff those things. So then we got a look at Purifying Flame. So the psychic stuff is also very fascinating to me. With the removal of the psychic phase, it looks like they've been moving every psychic ability into, or that does damage, into a ranged weapon profile. So it looks like purifiers are going to keep Purifying Flame, but now each model in the unit, it has to be each model in the unit. They don't say that, but like there's no way that you would use this otherwise. Each model in the unit gets to make one attack hitting on 3s, and then they're going to wound anti-infantry on 2+, regardless. So if they're T7 infantry, you're going to wound them on 2-ups, like no matter what. So this is going to make them pretty good at doing damage into high toughness enemies, but with only 5 shots hitting on 3s, you're only going to get 3 to hit. You're going to wound with 2 to 3 of them on average. So I don't know. This also makes them very bad into high toughness things like vehicles, which might be the point. They don't really have a brain to fry with your mine bullets, but who knows? I'm so-so on this because I need to see what the rest of the psychic abilities are going to look like and how they'll play out. They do straight up say in the article that while Thousand Suns use their psychic abilities mostly for offense, that the Grey Knights use theirs mostly for defense and buffing each other, which makes sense. Like the Aegis is them using their psychic abilities to ward each other, and the more of them there are, the stronger that gets. So that makes sense that we have these buffs like Astral Aim baked into the datasheet, but I'm very confused. Like, I don't see Smite on those datasheets. I'm pretty sure you all noticed that too. So now our normal infantry can't Smite. That feels bad, honestly, but I gotta wait and see what the rest of the game looks like. All right, we're moving into the stratagems now. Haloed in Soulfire. This goes into more of our cool movement stuff. It's 2 CP. It feels a little steep, but we only see 2 strats in this preview, and the other one definitely feels like 2 CP is steep. So this one maybe not. It has to be used proactively. This is a big thing. It has to be used in your movement phase, so you can't wait until you're like attacked on your enemy's turn and then use this. You have to be thinking ahead on when to actually use this. Already, just from what I see in this preview, I can see a lot of interesting stuff. Like if you have a Purgation Squad with incinerators, you can drop them down using teleport assault in your turn, spend 2 CP on them to make it so anything further than 12 inches away can't target them at all with any ranged abilities at all. Like, that's the cool thing. This just makes it so that this model, any attacking unit outside of 12 inches just can't target them. So you can drop this Purgation Squad in front of 6 Imperial Guard tanks, and the tanks can't shoot at them, assuming that they can't move up within 12 inches. So you can do stuff like drop in a squad, murders like something off of an objective, as long as you know that there are a few units that can fire back. So this lets you be a little more aggressive. Sentry says the strat is for Purgation Squads. It definitely feels that way. It does work on Grey Knights. So it's any Grey Knight Psyker unit with who is arriving from either Deep Strike or the Teleport Assault ability, and that's the one that allows you to remove them from the table at the end of your opponent's turn and then bring them back down at the end of your next movement phase. So you're gonna have a lot of units that can actually trigger this. Like I said, it's just Grey Knight Psyker, so it works on Dreadknights, which means it'll work on your Grandmaster Dreadknight. It'll be for Paladins, yeah, any Psykers. It just won't work on, your Rhinos. It won't work on your like Servitors. But what's also a really good thing that I thought about this immediately is this is really great for holding backfield objectives. It can save you a turn, maybe 2 turns of an enemy unit getting in range. They're not in range yet. You spend 2 CP and you hold on to those points. So you can also use this defensively, but you still have to be using it proactively. And that's where I think this is actually a very interesting stratagem. Zarnage is saying if one of the leaders, preferably not an epic hero, doesn't get advance and charge, then rip the concept of this in. Yeah. So I'll talk about advance and charge later. So far, we haven't seen that at all anywhere. But who knows? It might be another stratagem. It might be that only interceptors get it, or whatever. We don't know yet. So I would love to see advance and charge, but then I bet everybody in the entire game wants that as well because it's so damn strong. The other stratagem that we were shown was Radiant Strike, which I think is the name of either a let's say rapiers, either their psychic power from 9th or their stratagem from 9th. I can't really remember. But this goes ahead and gives devastating wounds to any of our psychic melee weapons for that phase. It can only be used in the fight phase. So you can't use this in the shooting phase on your ranged weapons. But this is what we kind of thought would get baked in, or some people thought would get baked into our Nemesis Force weapon profile. It didn't. Instead, we get this at 2 CP. At 2 CP, this feels really steep because unless 10th vastly changes the meta, we're an MSU army spending 2 CP for 5 units, even though we get a bunch of attacks. This just, I don't know, this just feels not great for 2 CP. That's it. This isn't a tremendously incredible stratagem, so I'm going to move on. So now we're getting into the like hopes and dreams and fears. We're nearing the end already. I really hope Paladins get something really, really good. One of the things I was thinking of is that armored resilience becomes a power that just passively gives them a storm shield effectively. Obviously we can balance that by changing the price of the Paladins. But the other thing is, I noticed after I wrote this, we haven't seen what the storm shields are going to do yet. We know they're going to give +1 armor. We don't know anything else. Like, I highly doubt they'll give +1 invul. Because Paladins running around with a 3-up invul is just insane. Normal Terminators in any other Space Marine chapter running around with a 3-up invul would be absolutely insane. So it may give a feel no pain, it may give an extra wound, it may give extra toughness, but whatever it is, I hope that we get to have armored resilience and quote-unquote storm shields on our Paladins, even though we don't have access to storm shields, which makes me sad, but it is what it is. You could definitely, Crisis says, I feel you could use the detachment ability to have interceptor spot for the Purgators. I absolutely agree. And the crazy thing about in line of sight is line of sight has no range. So if you have anyone, hi Tony, if you have anybody able to see anything that you want to shoot, if they're not perfectly hidden, you can get all your Purgators to fire. It would also be interesting if they kept the ability of Paladins to pick what psychic ability they wanted. So like maybe they have Armored Resilience or Astral Aim or, you know, whatever the other ones are that we get access to and what they look like, because we still don't know what our HQ psychic powers are going to look like. We don't know if we're going to have Tide still. Probably not. It looks like we're just going to get Teleport Assault now, and the +2 armor means we're effectively in shadows for a lot of the time anyway, so still a lot of questions. Master crafted power armor looks amazing. I cannot wait to see Drago's stat block. We've already seen a lot of the epic characters getting super killy. It'll be nice to see if Drago gets the same kind of thing. And we still have very little decent high strength shooting, but with the ability to bring like Razorbacks and Land Raiders that aren't terrible now, because they'll actually get our army buffs and things like that. We might start to see a lot more of that. I love the idea of a wombo combo using teleport assault to bring in a land raider, because it just says Grey Knight unit and it has to start on the board. But that means turn 2, you could drop in a land raider with 10 angry paladins and a... Oh no, it has to complete a normal move, right? To go ahead and do the assault ramp thing. So never mind. Anyway, the high strength shooting, we still don't have a lot of it. We'll probably have to rely on things like Razorbacks. But again, it depends on how expensive they are and how well that they tie in with the rest of our army. So that's a huge, huge detriment that I see. And Crisis brings up our Dreadnoughts might also get Astral Aim like they did in 8th. So we could have them shore up a lot of that low strength shooting, but until we see the Dreadknight or the Dreadnought datasheet, we don't know. And I already went into this a little bit. Psychic just seems kind of weird now. It seems really, I don't know, like, I know the Psychic phase was really boring when you're playing into other players that didn't have one, or they had a very minor one, and then you're just like, I'm gonna do this, and this, and they're like, yeah, man, whatever. So I understand why they removed it, but this feels very strange. I love the idea of our defensive buffs being active all game long, because nothing sucked more than like going second and you haven't had a Psychic phase yet and none of your buffs are up. And so you just end up getting killed for free. Also, you know, it sucks to go ahead and like, I have to get armored resilience off on these paladins this turn to have my game plan work out, and then you fail to cast it, or it gets denied, or you perils and you kill a paladin or something. So that stuff is all gone now. So it's more reliable, but it's less interactable, less interesting. But then again, we also haven't seen the entire Psychic rule set yet. So I don't know. What do you guys think? The muscle wizards. Yeah, I mean, that's a good descriptor of what I think Games Workshop wants. If you read the article, they say that, you know, the Grey Knights spend a lot of time buffing each other and buffing the army to make themselves better rather than debuff the enemy or cause direct damage. But yes, Crisis like said it, right? 3 gates of infinity per turn that cannot fail. They just go off. It's you don't have to be by an HQ. You don't, like, that is absolutely bonkers good. Gate of Infinity is already one of our best powers, and it's been buffed through, like, to the moon in this preview. And I know it's stupid, but again, the first thing that they showed is like has me the most excited. Just movement shenanigans. I love it. Somebody on my Discord this morning said it feels like DK are gonna be like Quins with a 2-up, and I mean, we're gonna be everywhere. We're gonna be not like Visa. We're gonna be everywhere you don't want us to be, and I love that. And then my final thoughts, this really felt like a very Grey Knights overall. The amount of movement we'll have is just absolutely exceptional. The ability to get every unit we have into the position it needs to be turn after turn reliably with our detachment abilities is awesome. Like, no more making a mistake in your movement phase and then being completely screwed for the rest of the game or for like a turn or two. You'll be able to have these things to fall back on to like fix your mistakes. Haloed in Soulfire seems really fun. I don't know if I'd use it like every turn, but it's definitely one of those things that allows you to take more risky plays because you're removing a lot of that risk from hanging out what used to be, like, as you all know, in ninth, our strike squads were effectively made of paper. There was so much AP out there, so much 2 damage weaponry, so much long range weaponry, so many rerolls, all that stuff. And this just flat out says you don't get to target them as long as you are not within 12 inches. Again, no rolling for that. It just happens, and that's epic. We're also seeing a lot of stuff out there like Imperial Guard mortars and Desolator Marines, all that indirect fire. This just straight up makes it untargetable. And I love that. So, Crisis says that they're reminded that the Rapier's Warlord trait made a character be able to advance and charge. And if I remember right, that was the only way to get advance and charge in the whole army, right? I know we had Tide of Celerity, which made our advances more reliable, but I think that was the only way to get advance and charge in the whole damn book. That's it. That is my preview. Love to hear what you guys think. I'm gonna stay on for a bit and just chat. It's been 2 months since I've released a video, and that is just because there hasn't been a lot to release videos about. I have some things in the works, and then also, for those of you who didn't know, my wife is pregnant, and we are expecting our first child in October, so that's been eating up a lot of time, like getting the house ready and all that as well. So please, like, what did you guys think of this preview? This is incredible. I am super excited. Like, it could be, thank you, Damned Legion. It could be that we've seen all the good rules. Like, that's possible. I don't think so, but it's possible. If that's true, the Grey Knights are going to feel really bad. But so far, if this is the direction that they're taking us, really reliable psychic, really reliable movement shenanigans, and then that little increase in durability with the added mastercrafted armor, like, I am just excited. It looks like a completely different army. Yeah, I can see that, but to me, it's different in a good way because it's removing the things that annoyed me, right? Like, I had a tournament, I went to an RTT, I brought Drago. His entire job was to basically be an anti-charge threat and to cast Gate, and he failed to cast Gate every single time for the entire RTT. He never cast it once. I even did it with 3d6s sometimes, I did it with rerolls sometimes, and that motherfucker never got Gate off. And so to just be able to pick up 3 units anywhere on the board for free, reliably, not rolling, not having to be near NHQ, is really cool to me. So it's removing the things I hated and buffing the things that I liked. So I'm all for it. Again, it does suck that we lost like the individual melee profiles. I would have liked to see at least the hammer stick around. But also this means that I have a bunch of purifiers I've never put on the table because they're all modeled with hammers, because I bought my army from a friend and they had them all modeled with hammers, and at least now I can put them on the board, you know. Sindri says it looks like the rules are designed to remove a lot of the variants that GK currently have. I agree with that. I think, again, we've seen it with the movement stuff, you know. I especially like that they know we're an elite army. So being able to get your resources into the correct positions to be able to actually at least give a good game, maybe not win, but at least give a good game, that's huge, because nothing feels worse than like having a 200-point unit not be able to do anything, right? But this is aces. I'm super excited. Obviously, like I'm just stoked because I got to finally see one of my armies. For those of you who watch for my Death Watch content, you'll notice that we didn't get one. They said it's baked into the Space Marine book, but don't worry, you're gonna get a lot of cool stuff. It's like, great, could you show us some? But I guess not. But at least the Grey Knights, I get to actually do this. This is really nice. With this new armor save, are points going to be higher? I assume so, but we won't know. I mean, anytime we get a buff like that across the board, and it, like, again, a psychic ability not having to be cast and being reliable and always just being there, like baked in, I would think that that would be worth more, right? Because you don't, like, again, you're removing that variance. So points going up makes sense, but we're gonna have to see how the points relate to every other point, right? Like, if guardsmen are 8 points or like 7 points and a strike marine is 30, that's probably not good. Because that would put our DKs around like 210. You know, so we're just gonna have to see. And if everything becomes that much more expensive, then that's great. We're gonna have smaller games that'll go faster, less modeling to do if you want to switch armies. We're just gonna have to see the points. But it would not surprise me at all to see Grey Knights generally increase in price, because I think we're generally getting better by, again, like Sindri said, we're removing that variance. So, damned Legion said it's called the Long Vigil for a reason. That's related to the Death Watch, and yeah, I agree. That made me sad, man. Like, this isn't a Death Watch cast, and I should do one about like my hopes and dreams. But I definitely want to see Kill Team stay. I want to see Brotherhood of Veterans stay. Maybe as a strat, hopefully as an army-wide just buff, like the army of Renown. And I definitely want to see something cool happen with special issue ammo, because like those 3 things make Death Watch to me. Everything else is whatever, but like those 3 things make Death Watch cool. Now I want to make a Death Watch video. Thanks, Damned Legion. Anyone else got anything they want to bring up? Never underestimate James Workshop ability to fuck something up. Yeah. I know the Death Guard preview was awful. I have no Death Guard playing friends who were really happy with that. I'm pretty happy with the Grey Knight stuff. So with this kind of information, I'm already thinking about lists, and obviously I can't list build, because who knows if we'll keep the Arcs of Open style detachment. Who knows if we'll go back to an old style or a new thing? Who knows what the points are gonna be like? You know, all of that. But like, I'm definitely thinking lots of fast infantry, and probably just a Dreadknight or 2 in support. I definitely want to play with a Land Raider or Rhinos, because it seems like you can teleport strike those as well, or teleport assault those as well, which is phenomenal. Being able to move like a Rhino with 10 interceptors in it in 2 squads, like that's 1 unit, but you're actually moving 3 units, and then you get to move 2 more units in the same turn. So the amount of like rejiggering we can do with our entire army with that just seems like bonkers, and I'm here for it. Like to see the Land Raider Banisher come back. They moved it to Legends, right? I think they did. Let me actually pull up Wahapedia real quick. I think they moved it to Legends. Boop, 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 boop. Crisis says the fact that the stratagems are 2 CP makes me think it's better if it's used in 10-man squads. Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, we don't know like what the meta for CP is gonna be. It seems like it's gonna be very much like Arcs of Omen, where you're gonna get the same amount of CP throughout a game, but you're gonna get 2 a turn. I don't know how many we're gonna start with because we haven't seen the rest of the army building rules. Yeah, I just hope the Land Raider is not 600 points. Yeah, yeah. I think they like they lowered them to what 245, and people still aren't bringing them except in meme lists. Like they keep lowering them, but they have assault ramps now in 10th. Their toughness went way up. They still have a 2 up. You can still, well, I don't know if this is actually true. I think you can still smoke screen them. So like their durability is going to get better. You're not going to easily chip away wounds with like storm bolters anymore because they're like toughness, what, 10 or 11 or something? Like that's crazy, crazy high. You won't have some like death company with hammers charge it and annihilate it easily either. 12? Wow, okay, even better. So we'll see. I don't know. Like I have a Land Raider. I have one for my Grey Knights. I have one for my my Death Watch. I've literally never played them because they are cool models. They are bad in 9th, as we all know. And let's see. I was gonna bring up the Banisher. Yeah, it is Legends right now, unfortunately. Yeah, like T8, 16 wounds, 2 up save, 245 points. So there you go. What have oh, smokescreen even got better. Mwah. Terminators will be T5 with a 4 up, so they're already going to be better, just flat out. I'm really excited to see what the rest of their data sheet looks like. I kind of hope they just get like a hammer hand baked in. That would be so cool. Smokescreen got buffed. That's so cool. -1 to hit and cover. So Land Raider is going to go up to a 1-up save and be -1 to hit. That's insane. Side cannons, yep. The Banisher had how many? Oh, just 1 twin. Side cannon. But it also had a multi-melta on it, which is pretty good. And 2 flamers. Ooh. Yeah, well, maybe we'll see the Banisher come back. I doubt it. What have GK lost in Psychic? So we talked about this a little bit, so I'll just do a really fast version. But a lot of the data sheets no longer have Smite at all. That kind of sucks. But they have their Psychic abilities also baked in. So they showed the Purgation Squad. The Purgation Squad has Astral Aim all the time now. You don't have to roll for it. You can't perils. You can't be denied. You just have it. And Astral Aim got buffed. So they lost Smite, but they gained Astral Aim. And for the Purgation Squad, at least, that's a huge buff to the Purgation Squad because you don't really want them in Smite range anyway. But things like Strike Squads, I doubt they're going to have Smite. Terminators might. But I think we'll see. I think we'll be seeing a lot of that reserved for elites like Paladins and Purifiers, and our HQs. So like our Librarian, I'd love to see the Mortal Wounds Librarian stay around in some way. Don't think that will happen because it seems like they're generally getting away from Mortal Wounds in general and Mortal Wounds spam for sure. We're not seeing a lot of Feel No Pains. Like, we don't have the Aegis anymore, at least via this preview. So I don't know if we have a 5-up Feel No Pain to Mortal Wounds anymore. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. I don't know. So, Psychic, we lost some offensive stuff. We gained some defensive stuff. And we gained a lot in reliability. Because we don't have to roll for it now. And we don't have to maybe kill ourselves trying to cast the power. So... yeah, so the Smite stuff we did, they did preview the Purifier datasheet if you want to go check that out, and they have Purifying Flame on there, and it doesn't look that great, but we'll have to see how it plays. It might be amazing, and I'm just not seeing some combo or something. But Vortex of Doom, same as Dune Bolt. I don't. Did they preview Doom Bolt? I don't know. Gutted, bro. Gutted. Yeah. I mean, if you were like that, I had a 9th edition list I was playing at, which was basically just how many mortal wounds can I throw out. So I brought like 2 10-man bricks of purifiers. I would combat squad. I brought paladins with Purifying Flame. I brought Crow. I brought the mortal wounds Libby. You know, I even brought the warding, the artificer nullifier matrix on the librarians. So if I was casting at high levels, like I wouldn't perils. It was a fun build, but like that will be impossible in 10th edition. That won't be a thing. We won't be killing knights in one psychic phase with our mind bullets anymore. Yeah. I don't know. We've seen both of army-wide rules, at least for this detachment. So it's possible we might have tides in another detachment or something. It doesn't seem like it, but I'm wondering if we keep tides. You know, there's lots of questions about what this will look like. So, anybody else excited? Like, I know we're talking a lot about the things that we don't like or that we miss, but like overall, how are people feeling? Are you feeling like this is a good thing? Are we feeling like we're moving in the right direction? Are we feeling like this feels like Grey Knights? Or is all hope is lost? Just started a Thousand Suns army, only 1k points, not feeling good about it now. I don't know, man. Like, Sindri, give me a chance to dust them off. Yeah. Brandon is terrified of their Grey Knights player now. Good, excellent. I want him to be good. I don't want him to be flavor of the month good and then get nerfed though. You know, like I don't want to go to a tournament and just do mirror matches for 6 hours. I really wanted to do a Grey Knights Army 2 for Psychic, but now I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and try to talk you into spending a bunch of money that you don't want, but again, I'm very excited to see that just Psychic stuff is on the card. You don't have to roll for it. You don't have to perils. You don't have to be denied. I know that some folks like that gambling part of the game. What I think would be neat, actually, and I just thought of this, is if there were like 2 versions of the power, one that was cast on dice so that was stronger with like a high warp charge, and then one that's just like a default one. But then you'd have to bring back the psychic phase, and that's like a whole thing. So I don't know, but it'd be cool if like, you know, normal Astrolabe, they had to have a spotter, but if they cast it and it went off, then they don't need a spotter and they can just shoot like through a building or whatever. But you know, we're not seeing that, so don't hold your breath. That was just some brain juice there. Go back to Adepticon, where 50% of the armies were Grey Knights. So like in 5th, where they had the fatal keyword that would just kill you. Even Psychic Knights are nerfed. No +5 spell. I haven't read any of the Knights previews. I know the Imperial one and the Chaos one are out, but I haven't actually read them, so sorry. I don't get that. If strikes terminators have a clear role instead of being the same, it's good with me. What do you mean by that, Crisis? Like, they're both troops. Obviously, the Terminators are going to be tankier because they're going to have more wounds and they're going to have an invul. It doesn't look like strikes are going to have an invul. But if you're thinking like 9th, where strikes were point for point, wound for wound, strikes were just a better value. I don't know. We'll have to see the points. We could very much end up in the same spot we are now, where like competitive players don't bring Terminators at all other than their HQs. I hope that's not the case. But yeah, it'll all come down to points, you know. This is a stupid example, but if like 5 strike marines are 120 points and 5 terminators are 140, like you're gonna probably take the terminators every time because you know that's not much more expensive and they're way better value in that case. It might be interesting too. They're troops, so I don't think this will happen, but it might be interesting if like Terminators had a better objective. Well, no. Well, they are troops though. In most armies they aren't. I'm sorry, you're all listening to my brain vomit. So in a normal Space Marine army, like let's say Ultramarines, right? Their Terminators are elites, and they're the shock troops that go in, knock you off of an objective, and then the intercessors will come up behind it and actually grab it and hold it. But in Grey Knights, our Terminators are troops. So our shock troops are also good at holding objectives. So I don't know. I was gonna say it might be cool if like strikes had a higher objective control value than Terminators, but then that would just put them into the elite category, at least in terms of that stat. Maybe they wouldn't be in the actual elite category, but you know. And that would be your choice. Like, do I buy the slightly cheaper unit with more objective control value, or this stronger, more defensively minded unit that has a lower objective control value? Maybe that's how they'll set them apart. I don't know. Give Termies +1 OC. Yeah, I don't know. I want them to be different, but going back to the previous comment about James' workshop, it wouldn't surprise me if they were effectively like it is in 9th, where they're not so much better that they're worth the cost. But again, that comes down to the points cost. Yeah. So Crisis and I just had like the same idea. Yeah, so one would have a higher OC and one could have sticky. That's an interesting idea too. I think that's... Yeah, I know normal Space Marines are going to get sticky all the time if their troops were on it, but... Oh. Anything else we want to discuss? I love this back and forth, by the way, so... If it's sitting in your noodle, slam it in the chat. As long as it's 40K related, you weirdos. I should play some music or something. All right. Well, trying to get Derek and some others back on here to discuss this. Summer's coming up. Summer's super busy for me on weekends, so I'm gonna try to get things settled. I'm planning on going to a tournament in July. It'll be a GT hosted here, so I'll do another GT recap like I did for the Rosehammer GT. Not sure what army I'm going to bring yet, because I haven't seen what the Death Watch looks like, and I haven't seen all the armies for the Grey Knights. But so far, I'm super excited for my Grey Knights. So, we will see. I think, though, I'm going to call it here. We've had a good turnout this whole time. We've had lots of excellent back and forth, and it's just over an hour, which already means a whole bunch of people on the internets aren't going to watch this, because they have low attention spans. But I will see you all later. Stand by for more content from me, and don't forget,